P-51C is the newest in the line of Mustangs in War Thunder. Being added in patch 1.101 Raining Fire, it is essentially a battle rating 4.0 P-51D Mustang with a few slight alterations. Firstly, the most immediately obvious difference is the canopy, which is shared by the cannon-armed P-51 placed earlier in the tech tree. This type of canopy was called the birdcage canopy, and it was used by many aircraft throughout the early World War II period. For most ARB players, this shouldn't matter much, but it's much more prominent for sim players. Compared to aircraft that feature a bubble canopy, the birdcage provides less visibility and is a bit harder to spot enemies through. There is also a dangerous aspect about this plane that makes it tedious to land. While holding down the brakes, it is possible to flip the aircraft over on its nose. Because of this, it is very important to release the brakes when you see the tail come up. Flips often happen very fast, so you will want to keep an eye on the tail when coming to a stop. Furthermore, there are slight yet significant differences in flight performance that make the P-51C worth the buy. The P-51C shares the same engine as the P-51D, but there are noticeable differences between the two. In a 360-degree turn time test that had both planes begin the turn from 300 miles per hour, the P-51C had an average time of 13.22 seconds, compared to the D version, which had a time of 13.97 seconds. Not only were the turn times different, but climb rates as well, and even more so. I also ran a test that required both planes to pull up to a 20-degree climb, starting from 1,000 feet at 270 miles per hour. The P-51D took an average of 57.29 seconds to reach 6,000, but the P-51C only took 54.01 seconds. As for the stock grind, all vehicles in the game have a bad, if not terrible stock grind. But with the P-51C, you better get lucky with your first couple of games because it is painful. The stock climb rate is worse than a B-29 and it's as sluggish as a BB-238. Because of its lack of air-to-air effectiveness, it is way easier to spade the P-51C by destroying ground targets in AI aircraft. Even if you were to insist on going after enemy planes, I haven't even mentioned the stock belt. The stock P-51C has got to be the worst example of 50 cals mounted on a US fighter. In some instances, you might only have to use a couple rounds, which is the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, which happens all the time, you will dump almost half of your ammo into a single plane, and oftentimes the result is a single fuel fire that will go out in seconds, or maybe even the occasional lucky kill. The upgraded 50 cals do perform better, but still not optimal. This is due to the fact that there are only 4 guns and the P-51C only offers mid-war belts. The P-51C also has a small yet very important little detail. Inside the cockpit is placed an African American pilot model. This is an obvious nod to the fact that the default skin for the P-51C is the red-tailed livery of the 99th Pursuit Squadron, better known as the Tuskegee Airmen. The Tuskegee Airmen, as is known by many aviation history enthusiasts, was the United States' first African American fighter squadron. They didn't just fly the P-51, however, they also operated the P-40 Warhawk, P-39 Airacobra, and P-47 Thunderbolt. In spite of that, they were most famous for their use of the P-51 Mustang, which is represented in-game. The P-51C features 2 skins in addition to the default one. The first unlockable skin is called Couldnt and is achieved by getting 180 kills. The second camouflage Topper 3 can only be obtained by using 200 golden eagles to buy it. In summary, the P-51C is an excellent addition to the American tech tree. The biggest downside to this plane is its guns, which unless you get pilot snipes all the time, are pretty mediocre. At high speeds, the ailerons don't compress too much, but the rudder does, making it very difficult to aim while overspeeding. Though despite its flaws, you should get this plane for its better turning, climb rate, and speed. This plane is in many aspects better than the P-51D placed at 4.3 above it. The performance it offers at 4.0 is just insane, making it well worth the purchase.
God, why can't I sleep today? Though despite its flaws, you should get this plane for its better turning, climb rate,